recovery tools. A lot of our couples struggle with knowing what to do during and after an intensive. So these are some tips and tools and actually practical, applicable things they can use. They are found in the back of the men's and the women's workbooks. This is also on our Transformed Hearts Training Institute. These are downloadable documents if you become a member of that portal. So check that out as well. So the first one I want to talk about is victory meetings. This is something my wife Carrie and I put together after being in recovery a couple, 2-3 years, and we would spend at the end of the day checking in. She was much like my accountability partner, and we do not recommend that be the case for you. We learned the hard way that I came home, dumped all my thoughts, the good, the bad, the ugly, struggles, temptations that I had, looks, second looks, thoughts, fantasies, and it was really destroying her heart. Now, if you're that guy, get in a recovery group, a work group, get a sponsor, and have someone, a man that you can dump that on. Now, each couple's a little different how they wanted to navigate that. It's not right or wrong, but it is what I call wise or foolish. And what's wise for you as a couple may be foolish for the next couple to use these tools. And so victory meetings are about celebrating the victories. They're not every night. They're what I call, you get the jar off the shelf, you open the jar, and you share once a week, maybe 30 to 60 minutes, what's going well. How are you doing in the exercises you've been given in your intensive? How are meetings going? How's your workbook work, step work? And even sharing some of your workbook work, step work with your partner. And I know some programs really frown on that. We find it to be very beneficial, especially when intimacy anorexia is present in the couple's relationship or the marriage. So we encourage to check in. Hey, how we doing on what we call the 3 dailies, the 5 C's, who has the next date night, how are finances, just daily living stuff, but also recovery focused stuff, and how many phone calls did I make. That's a big part of our recovery process and our work group meetings and check-ins. So, hey, I made 3 phone calls to Bob or Bill or Jim this week. How many did you make? Well, I made 1 or 2 to Susie. Okay, so it's not about beating each other up or comparison. It's about celebrating what we're doing well, getting that momentum. So that's kind of the idea behind the victory meeting. Next is what we call a timeout plan. Some couples are very toxic, so we have a worksheet on that as well, that you plan ahead, sit down, talk about the rules of engagement in a time of peace, so we know what to do and what's going to happen in a time of war. So let's say one of us can call a timeout, and it might be like a basketball timeout, and we're going to honor that, and we both have know ahead of time, hey, she's going to go to the bedroom, I'm going to go to the garage, and make a phone call or do what we call our other tool is a 10-minute worksheet or a 10-minute argument that's on a worksheet, and you fill out, hey, identify what's the problem. How do I see from my perspective what the problem is? Without blaming my spouse, what are my feelings about this problem, and what are some possible solutions to this problem that might be really extreme and easy to apply, and might be kind of crazy and not so likely. But make a list, maybe have a list of 6-7 things, and you each in your timeout agreed to take a time out for 20-30 minutes. That time's up. Now we agreed to meet at the kitchen table, and during the timeout I highly recommend you do not drink alcohol. Definitely do not drink and drive together, or even be driving sober without alcohol, because usually you're angry, you're putting yourself and others in danger. So go for a walk, go for a run, make a phone call, walk around the block, whatever it is that you're not drinking and or driving. So now you each have done this 10-minute argument worksheet, come back together, share your thoughts and feelings about what the problem is, and what are my feelings around the problem, what are some solutions. You combine the solutions, and then you vote on it, and you number them, 1 to, let's say we have 8 different possible different solutions, and the one with the highest number, or the lowest number, however you want to do it, is the winner. We date it and sign it, and that can be part of the timeout plan and take a 10-minute argument. Now sometimes timeouts aren't that clean and simple. You might need to take another timeout. You might have to bring a third party in, a sponsor, a clinician, lay leader that can be objective to the argument. And finally, in this I want to talk, we have many other tools, but these are just a few, what we call a separation agreement. Sometimes a separation agreement is actually a quicker way to reconciliation, and it doesn't mean all or nothing. It doesn't mean out of the house. It can mean in-house separation, separate bedrooms, separate parts of the house. It can mean out of the house separation, but again, what's wise for you may be foolish for the next couple. And that can be a way to quantify. Then you take the separation agreement worksheet, and we're going to discuss, okay, who's going to pay what bills, who's in charge of car maintenance, house sitting, watching the pets or the animals, kids, how are we going to do that with the kids, child care, visitations if we're in separate households, what that's going to look like. Now, sometimes separation is actually healthier because the couple is so toxic that they're not making any progress, because they're always at war with each other. So sometimes we've got to separate that. He's going to do he recovery, she's going to do she recovery, put the oxygen mask on themselves first, like they talk about when in an emergency when you're flying, and then put it on the marriage or the elderly person, the child second. So something to think about. The separation agreement can be a bonus. And then what am I going to work on while we're separated? What does reconciliation look like? Does that include a polygraph, a third party, both of us completing a quantifiable amount of recovery work, whatever that might look like. So, and then dating and signing that as well. So just some quick little tools, give you a taste of what types of tools that we use to help that are practical and applicable to use.